Okay, so today I'm going to show you how I'm memorizing Mark 6, and we're only just going to do Mark 6, 1 through 6, because Pastor Rocky did preached on Mark 6, 1 through 6, and there was so many just good things in there. So I just want to shoot this one, and then put the message in the link, watch it first, um, and then come back here, and then I'll show you how I'm memorizing. Of course, I'm using the Memory Palace. So let me share the Memory Palace that I'm using. Let's see, from current side. Okay, this is a part of Universal Studios, this section. So I'm using this section to memorize Mark 6. Right. So the first one is this. Um, So this top chimney portion is verse 1. This whole section is verse 2. If you see, it's a long verse. Verse 3 is here, and then verse 4 is this section, and then verse 5 is here, and then verse 6 is this statue. Okay, so let's go. So Jesus went out from there. So I imagine Jesus is wet. So Jesus went and he's coming out of this chimney. So Jesus went out from there. And then on this sideline, I just imagine there's a restaurant called Hometown Buffet. I used to go there when I was a long time ago, but I just remember think that okay, Jesus comes out of here and he goes into Hometown Buffet, and his disciples followed him. Okay, and then here is when I start verse 2. When the Sabbath came, when is a hen, and I imagine there, like this portion right here, a hen is taking a bath when the Sabbath, and maybe he has a cane or came. He began. He is He Man. Began is a bee carrying a gun for he begun, but I'm gonna say he began, and then to teach in the synagogue. So I imagine a synagogue here as well, and then He Man is teaching, right? And the many listeners were astonished. Listen, I use Listerine, so maybe I'm pouring Listerine on this pole. So that's my image for and the many listeners were astonished, saying, Here, where did this man get these things? So where is hare or rabbit for hair? So I'm just imagining a bunch of hair on this rail. Okay, so where did Fido Dido or did Dido this man? I'll imagine like a man, like an actual like the restroom sign man here. Get these things. So it's like kind of like get. Where did he get these things? Like things I can imagine like the monster thing. So where did this man get these things? Okay. And what? So there's a poster back here. So and is an ant. What is like kind of like being shocked, like and what? Okay. Is this is this maybe brother is this wisdom? Wisdom I use like a wizard hat. A wizard hat, maybe a wizard hat is here. Given to him. Given I could use like Gibbler, Gib Gib I think it was a Gibbler. I use for give, I use Gibbler. So maybe give in Gibbler in hymn, I can use a hymnal book, kind of like create a story here. And such miracles. And is an ant sucking on a sucker for such and such. And then miracles is I can imagine like the miracle movie, Disney movie called Miracles. It was like a US hockey team. So maybe the hockey team is going through back and forth these letters, right? And such miracles, and they're performing as these performed by his hands. So maybe I'll imagine like I don't know, like maybe the monster hand. What do you call that show? With the hand walking around. So performed by these hands, maybe I don't know, something like that. Okay, so that's verse 2. Remember, it's kind of long. Okay, verse 3 is this menu board here. Is not this the carpenter? So brother is carrying a knot, and then he's a carpenter. So he's building this menu board. Okay, is not this a comforter? The son of Mary, the middle of this menu, I just imagine there's a son here. So that's the image. And then the son of Mary. And I like this because Pastor Rocky goes, how come they didn't say like, not he didn't say that, but he's saying they said the son of Mary. It's kind of like saying, dude, we don't even know who your father is. Like he's kind of being condescending, right? Or whoever, the people are being condescending, like you're just like one of us. Who do you think you are? The son of Mary, not Joseph, right? The and brother of James, Joseph, and Judas. That's three J's. So I just imagine here there's three compartments, right? J, J, J. So James, Joseph, and Judas. James because the book of James. Judah, he wrote the book of Judah. So, and then Simon, out of nowhere, just Simon. Okay. So I just remember four brothers: J, 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 James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon. Right. Outside of here, I just remember a pirate. It goes, are not his sisters here with us? So brothers, and then their sisters. So there are sisters here, right? And they took offense. So, and I know a guy named Tay. So Aunt and Tay, they take this fence here and throw it at this menu board, and they took offense at him. Verse 4, and Jesus, so it's bottom of here, and Jesus said to them, and then Jesus, so I imagine Jesus talking to Tim, and Jesus said to Tim, okay, a prophet, so I imagine a prophet taking an order here is not without honor, okay, so he's being made fun of, he has no honor, so that's what, like, that's the image I have, and he's ordering at hometown buffet. So this is the menu area for the hometown buffet, and among his relative and in his household. So I imagine, like, first it's a hometown, then it gets smaller, now just relatives, like maybe cousins, right? And then in his own household. So that would be his own house, mother, father, brothers, kind of like that. So I just can't imagine it goes from hometown, relatives to own household. Okay. And then five, and he. So Andy could do no miracles. So and on this entrance side, he's trying to do miracles on this entrance side, but he can't do it. Except that that is a hat, he is He-Man. I just remember He-Man laying hands on a few sick people. Maybe there's three people here, right? So he's laying his hands on a few sick these people, and then he heel kicks them. So that's and healed them. All right. Yeah, that's pretty jacked up, but that's how I memorized it. Okay. So six is and he wondered at their unbelief. Andy is on top of here. And if you remember Aladdin, the cartoon, there's a cave of wonders. So I just imagine that. So this mouth opens up and cave of wonders. So that's the image for Andy wondered at their unbelief. And he was going around the villages. So this belt here, I imagine Andy going around the belt. So that's and he was going around the villages teaching. All right, that's it. So that's a crazy story that I created to memorize this. I use the memory palace. If you don't know what that is, check out the link as well. Um, so I guess I'll recite it. Okay, so go. Uh, Jesus went out from there and came to his hometown, into his hometown, and his disciples followed him. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogues, and the many listeners were astonished, saying, "Where did this man get these things? And what is this wisdom given to him? And such miracles as these performed by his hands." Verse 3, mm, is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us? And they took offense at him. And Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his hometown and among his relatives and in his own household. And he could do no miracles there except that he laid his hand on a few sick people and healed them. And he wondered at their unbelief, and he was going around the villages, and he was going around the village teaching. Okay, Mark 6 1 through 6. I hope, yeah, take a look at the message. I hope this encourages you to memorize. Um, yeah, Mark 6 1 through 6. It's a good reminder. Pastor Rocky had a lot of just so much nuggets there. I mean, there are things that were going on. So he talks about how, you know, God is sovereign, right? He quotes R.C. Sproul, not there's, no random maverick molecule, right? Things he talks about things will get worse even for Christians. It's gonna get worse. there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know why these bad things are happening. But as Christians, we know we don't question God. Like, reminds me of Habakkuk, right? Violence of violence. Why is there so much violence going on? God responds with, you know, see and wonder. Like, you don't even know what I'm doing. Like, you don't even understand the great things that are going on. Job, right? When Job questioned God, what was the response? That he got Job 38 too. It's like, gird up your loins. Like, who are you that speaks without knowledge, right? Where were you when I, you know, basically laid the foundation of the earth? Um, he talks, or Pastor Rock talks about Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, to those who have been called according to His purpose. And then Romans 29 is important because that all happens. Now, we'll get the wrong aspect of what good means, but it's for those God foreknew, He also predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son. It's so that we become Christ-like. That's why anything good or bad that happens, it's for the good because it's making us Christ-like. Um, the rejection part is great because it's just a good reminder for us. Like, we get rejected. Like when we share the gospel and get rejected, Jesus knows how that feels like, right? He was rejected too, right? He understands how we feel when people don't believe. Pastors too. I mean, Pastor Rocky was talking about like you gotta pray for us too, because yeah, it's good to see people come in, but it's also sad to see those who don't believe, right? So we need to pray for them. Um, oh, Pastor Rocky was talking about like three things that we need to do. Like, so the pastor's job is to preach the word, right? And then it's our job to receive it. So we have a responsibility, and the preacher is trying to preach, the word so that we believe in Jesus. We believe in who he is, we know who he is, who God is, who Jesus is. And then so what are we supposed to do? So he talks about three things. First one is read and meditate on what is going to be preached. Our church has a email sending, hey, this is what's going to be preached on. So, and I would say memorize it, right? When you memorize it, like that's why we do this, right? We memorize it. Then when the preacher's preaching, when he's preaching, like I know what's going on. Like I already know. He says, pray for the preachers, right? They spend countless of hours working on their sermon, and then there's a lot of distractions, right? So pray that they will faithfully be faithful to the word, study the word, so that they can teach, so that we can understand the Bible. And then number three, pray for myself, pray for yourself, for the congregation, and for the whole world to receive the world and understand it correctly. Um, he goes through how the gospel is offensive, right? But I mean, this is me saying, but whether you like it or not, it's the truth, right? Whether you believe in heaven and hell doesn't matter because it really does exist, right? And it's offensive to say that. No one likes to be told they're sinners. No one likes to be told that they are not Lord themselves. No one likes to hear Jesus is the only way, right? So, unfortunately, we are, as Christians, our job is to share the gospel and let God do the rest, right? The Holy Spirit is the only one that can do that. So we just just talk about who God is and who man is and then who Jesus Christ is and what is our response, right? Gosh, so many things about like even how this rejection portion was a message to the disciples that he's the 12 are going to be sent out soon, and when even when Jesus ascends into heaven, like they're going to get persecuted. The perfect teacher was rejected, so of course they're going to be rejected too, right? um Pastor Rocky was talking about lukewarmness, right? Jesus says that you're hot or cold, but when you're lukewarm, he's going to spit you out, right? So he's basically saying that you're going to be useless. I know this verse is being used incorrectly many times, but like if you study hot and cold, the is both good, right? Hot, you know, what was it? Colossae had Laodicea was in the middle. There's Colossae, and then there's Hierapolis. Colossae, if I'm saying it right, had cold water, right? Refreshing water. Hierapolis had hot water that was like therapeutic, and then it was being piped to Laodicea, but by the time they got there, it was all jacked up. So basically, when Jesus was saying this, the church of Laodicea was basically saying you're far from the source. Like you think you're rich, but no, you're not. You don't have anything because you're useless because you're far from me. Like you don't. You like kind of like going back to your first love, right? You're not. You're not. I'm not the source. So everything. So you guys are basically useless because you're doing everything apart from me. So I love that. You know, a warning to the lukewarm people. Basically, you're useless because you're far from Christ. So many things. Anyways, watch the message, memorize this, and we'll go from there. Okay. I hope this encouraged you. But yeah. Did I already quote? Yeah, I did. Okay. But anyways, I hope this encourages. I'll see you when I finish the start. Shooting videos for Mark already. I'm already on Mark 8, I think, and I haven't shot any of the videos, just like Mark 1. But anyways, I hope this encourages you. Okay, thank you.